I'm the crafts artisan, and that means that I'm in charge of either the construction of or the alteration and tracking of all the costume accessory pieces. They may have a top hat like this, and I go to stock and I find this top hat, but theirs is purple, so we take all the fabric off and we replace it with purple. And we're hoping that he'll be able to do something like that with it, just because everybody loves an opera top hat that pops. At the beginning of the show, you know, it's set up as sort of a play within a play, as it were. Like, Louis comes in and he's in character from the very beginning, but he basically says, I'm going to put on a dramatization of my life story, and these people are going to help me. Jimmy Kiefer, Dee Dee Batiste, Derek Ledbetter. So when they first get up on stage, they're themselves.
It's one of the first questions you have to answer with the play is who are these players that he introduces. But it seems pretty clear to me that they are contemporary actors.
And the research that we looked at when Tom and I were deciding what was the aesthetic for people's basic clothes, there were a lot of pictures of bands. They all had, you know, argyle sweaters and striped trousers and strange costumey elements on, like a boater hat or a bowler. Music is theatrical. The way that bands present themselves to the world and the press is theatrical.
This play is a sort of celebration of storytelling in the theater, whatever sort of way you want to look at that. And we really wanted to look at it exploring all ways, not just 19th century ways of doing theater, but let's embrace what we have. So you'll see microphones in the Foley area and things like that.
We came up with a modern look for what the players are going to look like. Fabrics and patterns that are theatrical, that are perhaps timeless. Bold graphical patterns are really fashionable right now. Like, if you go into the stores, you see lots of giant bold plaids and stripes, people wearing pinstripe pants or herringbone trousers. And there's a sort of a sensibility of dressing up. And so I feel like that is one way that these players are going to look both modern and historical.
Not only were these really the actors from PlayMakers, but this was really the designers from PlayMakers, and I really am directing it. And there was not a kind of attempt to hide the fact that we, as PlayMakers, were bringing all of our resources to the telling of this story.
The play's namesake is Shipwrecked, so there's a giant shipwreck in the middle of the play. So knowing that, we wanted thunder sheets and a wind machine and probably a gong and a bass drum, things to make the storm. But there's some little things the script tells us, like at one point they make a fire, so there's like some cellophane and some tissue paper and bubble wrap for the little pops that you hear in a fire. So things like that were clear. Tom had expressed interest in a water phone just because it makes a great sound, it's a lot of fun, and has these tines, and then you just take the bow and play along the bow. We're using this for the octopus attack, so you can get lots of different things. So
there are so many elements that are fantastical. I mean, a pearl diver getting dragged to the depths by a octopus tentacle. Well, you know, is that octopus tentacle a person in a tentacle costume? You know, is it a giant tentacle puppet? Is it a mime? Is it something that we create with people's bodies?
I mean, I think that this is a play where it forces you to examine what kind of theater artist you are. And like, why that choice? Why that road? Because there are so many different ways to tell this story. And being forced to answer those questions, to be able to say, well, this is why, is fun, a little scary, and has been a really tremendous sort of journey of self-discovery for me.
Oh, look! An underwater forest! Tall sea grasses as tall as a man wave to and fro in the current. This enchanted place, God's aquarium.
We have the players, and then we have the ensemble, which are the Foley artist, puppeteer people.
The play is originally conceived to be a very rich sonic landscape, you know, it's something where there is a clear intention from the author to have a sort of Foley world to it. There's a lot of opportunities for really rich musical storytelling as well.
There's a deconstructed piano that we have that is used in a lot of things, and we knew we wanted that because it makes a great sound and it has a wide variety of sounds. What this used to be, we took the keys were taken off, all the front stuff were taken off, and it's just the strings exposed, which makes it a lot of fun because you can just sort of run along it. You get to the high stuff.
You know, the piano is a sort of a principal instrument through the sort of both sides of London. But once Louis' ship sinks and he's marooned out on an island, it becomes much more of a percussive world.
Louis de Rougemont is a real guy in history, whose actual name was Henri Green, and we read his account that inspired Margulies to write the play.
You know, this historical figure who is whose actual story is maybe as fantastic as the story that he told.
His story was only one of many in a book called Imposters that follows famous imposters. Each chapter is devoted to a different one. And what did they do to ingratiate themselves into society such that their pretty incredible stories were taken for reality.
One of my favorite things in watching the runs is watching the Foley artists in the background make the sounds for the piece, or watching the shadow plays, or watching Mark Lewis, who's doing a one-man band thing back there.
For the coral sea, the pearlfish will celebrate our arrival by leaping into the water like excited frogs.
So see, there's all these little BBs in it. So for the waves, we had this one in stock, but but we were looking for something like a bull roar or a didgeridoo. This is a balafon. I think that's how you say it. They're playing it for a couple points when we get to an island, stuff like that, and I believe it's a little. I can't do a live show without it. There's that wonderful deep.
He's somebody who has a tremendous need to find love and acceptance wherever he goes. He's, I think, pretty ambitious.
What did the real Louis de Rougemont look like to present himself to the world such that he was able to sort of pull the wool over everyone's eyes for X amount of months, years? He's got some sort of presentation to himself that we really believe. So he's wearing a period suit and a vest and an ascot, and he's dressed very nicely.
Who exactly he is somebody who you're going to have to see what your reaction is to him.
Their attention to detail in how they presented themselves was something that just afforded them credibility. Like, if they weren't wealthy, but they were passing themselves off as someone wealthy, then they would spend $1,000 on a really great piece of luggage, so that when they showed up on somebody's doorstep and they presented themselves as a rich person on hard times, well, a poor person wouldn't have this piece of luggage. A con guy wouldn't have this piece of luggage. So we thought that Louis is coming here and he's basically conned PlayMakers into believing that this is his real story.
As rehearsal goes, I will create a palette, I will create a vocabulary, and then we'll work with it. This has been much more an opposite thing where Tom says, well, we need fire. So I'm like, well, here's some things that might create fire, and I'll put them in the rehearsal hall. And then the actors will play with it, and they'll figure it out. And then that'll change. So it's been a much different process than my normal design process, and it's been a lot of fun.
Enchanted place. God's aquarium.
Louis never said, yeah, you're right, I made that up. Louis went to his grave really insisting that this is all true. And this guy Fitzgerald, who was the publisher of the Chronicles in the Wide World magazine when he first came out, I mean, one of the things that Fitzgerald said was, look, I don't know how much of that story is true, but I know that he believed it was true.
Oh, my heavens! It is a magical world down below! A watery wonderland!